Welcome back to another episode of the CBL X's and O's podcast for season 2023. I've got Rd8 writing joining me again today, and we're previewing round 8 in the Gippsland conference here, Reese, and it's going to be a very interesting round. We've still got teams who can move in places on the ladder, and we've still got, I think it's about 5 or 6 teams in both the men's and women's battling it out for the top 4 positions.
Yeah, positions really in the men 2, 3, and 4 all up for grabs. In the women's, essentially it looks like 3 and 4 are going to be the only places that really move. It's going to be fireworks this round. It's going to be fireworks.
Let's start by looking at the ladder, and Moe sit on top currently, undefeated. They've locked in top position. But then under that, we've got Warragul and Traralgon, second and third currently both on 7-2 records. They play each other. So the winner of that game has the opportunity to lock in a top 2 position, so finishing second on the ladder. But then we've got fourth and fifth, which is Wonthaggi and Maffra, both with 6-2 records and both playing 2 games this weekend. One of them games is against each other. So whoever can potentially win that game between Wonthaggi and Maffra, as long as they win the other game, they could potentially lock in a top 2 second spot on the ladder as well. So that's how the finals look at the moment. Let's get into it. Saturday night, Traralgon hosting Warragul in what is going to be a cracker of a game.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. A lot of history between Traralgon and Warragul the past few seasons. We got them in 2022. With getting them in the grand final after they went undefeated, and also in the semi-final last season. So I don't think there's going to be any love in this game. I think it's going to be quite physical, and it's going to be very demanding of all the players. And it's really that decides who gets second. And I think both teams would love a home final. It's potentially a coin flip, but given the history of the last 3 matchups they've had in these important games, I reckon Traralgon's got this one.
And Lakes Entrance welcome the Southern Peninsula Sharks to their home court. And these 2 teams, as much as they're not affecting the top 4 positions, they're affecting where they're currently sitting. They've both only had 1 win for the season. The winner of this team gets their second win and potentially jumps up to, 8, 9, 10 positions. So it's got a bit of a bearing on the final ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. But both teams are coming into form too, so it's going to be really exciting to see how Lakes finish off their season. Even though the win-loss column doesn't really reflect their season as a whole, I think they've had a really decent season come in ways. And for Southern Pen really come into form as 2 games to go. But in this one, I'm backing the Pelicans at the Rec Centre. Hopefully they can pack that out again this week, and I reckon they get on top of the Sharks here.
Maffra hosts Currumbara at Cameron Sports Complex on Saturday night. Now, Maffra need to win both their games to have a chance at finishing in the top 4.
Yeah, I guess the real question is can they get it together? Obviously not having Sam Whelan last weekend showed. I think the guys like Elliot Hunt and Sanderman and, those other players, really need to step up fully and take control, in this final round, because Currumbara is not the team to really sleep on. They're quite competitive and fierce, but really important games for Maffra. But I reckon Maffra definitely do get it together, and they get the W over the Wildcats.
Pakenham are hosting Wonthaggi at Cardinia Life. Now, I think Pakenham's season's done and dusted. I don't think they can make the top 4, but Wonthaggi really need to win both games this weekend to solidify themselves in that top 4 position.
Yeah, very similar case to Mafra and Carnbarra, for Wonthaggi. Really important game. They've dropped two in the past few rounds. Especially last week losing to Traralgon. That don't think that was in their plans. And look, really, really important win for the Coasters there to force it to essentially a sudden death in Sunday. So but Pakenham Warriors not a team to sleep on either. They'll put up a fight, no doubt, but the way the Coasters are rolling and their guys are in form, I reckon the Coasters get up on this occasion.
And then Sunday, Moe are hosting Southern Peninsula Sharks on their way home. This is going to be an interesting game. Southern Pen have got a bit of form going at the moment, so they have the opportunity here to put that first L in the Meteors losing column, which would be an interesting outcome of this game if it was to eventuate.
Yes, it would shake up a few things definitely. I think just more on a front, a bit of a surprise loss if it does. But with that being said, Southern Penn had really two great games last week, last round, and if they're gonna, Moe gonna let Sharks shoot, 16 plus threes, like they didn't last weekend, it's going to be a hard thing to keep up with. But I think with Shelley and the guys and the way they're playing at the moment, I can't see it eventuating where they do take a loss. So I will back in the Meteors in this occasion, but I would say it won't go down without a fight.
Morwell host Sale on Sunday, and this is Sale's opportunity to potentially get that second win for the season and shift themselves off the bottom of the ladder. The Sale Sonics, they don't really want to finish on the bottom of the ladder, so going into Morwell, potentially walking out of there with a W will be what their goal is.
Yeah, to finish off the season at home, for the Magic, they would certainly like another W in that column, but Sale don't want to finish last either. So I definitely think it's going to be a tussle in a lot of ways, and but I just think Morwell are just really there. They've come late, into form very late. And I think they'll just be a little bit too much for the Sonics and keep them at the bottom of the ladder. So I'll definitely say a W goes to the Magic there.
And then we get to the last game of the Gippsland men's regular season for season 2023. And it's between the Wonthaggi Coasters and the Mafra Eagles. Now, if everything goes to plan on Saturday night, both teams winning their game, it all comes down to this game. Who wins this one will take the final position in the top four. This is going to be a cracker game on Sunday.
Yeah, if it all, like you said, if it all goes well Saturday for both, it's going to be a coin flip. I really can't separate the two. Mafra's got a lot of history, with success, and Wonthaggi have been in such great form. It's going to really, really be a testament to playing that on your mind as well. Be able to battle that thought. If we win, we're in. If we lose, we're out. And I definitely think it's going to be a game to watch. If you're able to get there, get there. Because it's going to be an absolute cracker at the Bass Coast Centre there. So, look, it's a coin flip for me, Matt. I can't pick them apart.
Now let's move across to the women, and we'll start with the ladder again. And we've got Carnbarra and Traralgon both sitting first and second with 8-1 records. Both them teams have locked in their top two positions because any team that gets the same amount of wins as them, both teams have got them head to head. So they've locked in the top two positions. It then gets interesting because we've got Mafra and Wonthaggi currently sitting in third and fourth with 6-2 records. Both teams playing two games this weekend. Moe and Pakenham, 5th and 6th. Also with 6-3 records, them two teams can push up into the top four. That's how we're sitting at the moment. So it's a very interesting ladder. We've got, again, Mafra, Wonthaggi play each other. Wonthaggi, Pakenham play each other. And Moe, I believe, are taking on Southern Penn. So let's leave the ladder for now. Let's go and have a look at the games. We've got Lakes Entrance hosting Southern Penn on Saturday at the Youth and Rec Centre. Both these teams haven't got a win as yet this season. So one of these teams is going to get their first win and elevated from the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah, someone's going to come out a winner in this one, and it's a coin flip. Both teams have shown signs that they're were in form and then they're not in form, and it's a bit of inconsistency in terms of that. But like in terms of things, someone's going to get a dub and someone's going to lose. I think for the Pelicans, they don't want to finish the season with not a win, and Southern Penn have got 2 cracks at that. To do the same. And, I definitely think neither of them want to, leave it to the last to get that done. But yeah, it's a coin flip for me on what happens there. But, given that it's in Lakes, I think that might prove as a bit of a advantage for the Pelicans.
Mafra take on Caramburra on Saturday night in what is going to be a tough game for the Eagles, taking on top of the table Caramburra. I don't know what to say here. This is going to be a really good game.
Look, this is a very important game for Mafra. Probably not the one they wanted coming into the last round with how the ladder sits, but Mafra coming into really great form. And Caramburra took their first loss last round, and maybe that was just it's a one-off, it is what it is, or is there something actually going on? We don't know. But it's one of those things. Mafra are not someone to sleep on. Caramburra, they're sitting on top. That's potentially the game of the round for me, out of all of them. But look, I'm tipping the Eagles to get up and keep that final hopes alive.
Pakenham take on Wonthaggi. This is going to be another cracker game. We've got 4th versus 6th. Pakenham really need to win to keep their chances of playing top 4 finals alive.
Yeah, huge game for Pakenham. If they get that dub, that puts them on the pulse still. But if Wonthaggi find a way to get through and get the dub, they'll sit a little bit more comfortable going into their game on Sunday. But it's another tough game for both. Given the arsenal that can be in Pakenham's list, especially if all available, that I think plays a huge part in this decision. And look, I definitely think the Warriors get up, especially being at home. Definitely will play a big part. But I've definitely got the Warriors over the Coasters here.
And then Sunday, Traralgon are hosting Warragul as a curtain raiser to the WNBL game that's being held at Grist Stadium. It's a pretty spectacular moment for these two teams to be able to have a curtain raiser game in front of a women's National League game.
Oh, how great is it, to even have national basketball in Gippsland? Like for an actual regular season game in Gippsland is huge. They did it a year before, if I'm not mistaken, and that was great. I was a part of that as one of the teams playing as a curtain raiser, and it's great. The stickers on the floor, the decals, and the electric signs and everything like that at the benches creates that bit of professional feel about it. And what a great display to put both teams on there and on that stage before the game. And we encourage everyone to get there and really show their support, especially with homegrown legend Jade Melbourne playing for the UC Caps. But getting to what the real game will be on Sunday for Traralgon and Warragul. Traralgon, really solidify, their top 2, coming up against the Warragul side that hasn't really found consistency this season. So I'd say that the Lady T-Birds get the dub over the Warriors.
Moe take on the Southern Peninsula Sharks, and obviously Moe win this game. They tick that last box to give them a chance of being in the top four and playing next week in the final series.
Yeah, they need that win without a doubt. And then they just literally it'll be that decides what that ladder kind of looks like. I think when it comes down to the games that are played on Saturday, it's going to be that deciding factor. But will it be a little bit too late for them? Who knows? But going up against Southern Penn, you're playing their second game of the of the weekend. I think Moe will get the best of them in that regard and get the dub.
Morwell host Sale in the women, which again, it's a battle of towards the bottom of the ladder, but this is going to be an interesting game. Morwell's 1-3, Sale's 1-2. This should be a pretty tight tussle.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams very young, and full of energy and youth and athleticism. It's going to be a very interesting watch. I'll be keeping an eye on that one. On the Play HQ live scoring, and look, I think both teams have performed really well when they've been at their best. And I just think that the Magic will get their potential fourth win of the season, over the Sonics.
And the last game of the regular season for the women's Gippsland Conference is Wonthaggi and Maffra. Again, similar to the men, this game has a lot of impact on the finals and the top four positions, but it's a little bit harder to read into what this result is going to mean, because we are relying on some results coming through from Saturday night prior to determine what significant impact this game is going to have.
Yeah, look, you couldn't script it any better, for both. And, it's one of those games where all depending on what happens on Saturday really determines what that final four looks like. But what a game to finish off the season, though. Wonthaggi, Maffra, both young, both hungry, both got their players, through multiple generations, and it's going to be a really strong showing of basketball and the women there. And just like the men's, going coin flip, with it, and I don't know who it's going to land on. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a game that you don't want to miss, and really tune into.
That's it. That's our round 8 preview in the Gippsland Conference and the last round of the regular season. Finals positions are all going to come down to some of these games, which is spectacular to see.
Yeah. Again, couldn't script it any better. For this particular one, we've got 4 teams battling for 2 spots. How else would you want it? And look, it just shows how competitive the season's been. For the women as well as the men. Very well scripted in terms of that, and it's going to be an interesting round of basketball.
Good luck to teams this weekend, and spectators, we look forward to seeing you in the venues, cheering hard for your association to potentially win the game and solidify their spot in the final. So again, good luck to teams, and I'll join you next week, Reese, when we sit down and we review round 8, which is going to be a spectacular round, and we're looking forward to it. So stay tuned and good luck to teams.